Okay, today's Q&A is about a grill, and the person said, I just bought a grill, and I wanted to know, is there anything I need to know relating to Kashrus, of course. So most times, the grates on a grill are made of metal, like stainless steel, or cast iron, or chrome, or steel. And once in a while, they're made from porcelain enamel, which is a glass that's fused onto steel. So in any of those kind of cases, the grates require tefillah in a mikvah, and you recite a bracha. That's because they come in direct contact with food, and they're made of a material that needs tefillah, so the grates themselves need to be tevel in mikvah. If the grates are coated with Teflon, I mean they're really metal, but they're coated with Teflon or some other material that doesn't require tefillah, then you should do tefillah on them, but without making a bracha on them. Now, if the grill was if you bought a used grill from someone who does not keep kosher, then you'd have to kasher the grill before you tevel it, and how you do that is beyond today's discussion. That's a little more complicated. You can ask a question or go watch our video on how to do that. Now, grill boards are basically pieces of wood that you put onto the grates, and the food that gets placed onto the grill board instead of directly onto the grate. In many cases, that grill board is basically just a piece of wood that with no additives put into it, but they're able to give a taste into the food because they're made of a certain kind of a wood, like they're made of hickory wood, and that gives a certain flavor or taste into the food. So then you don't need hashgacha for those. Same thing applies to charcoal. That most charcoal is basically just made from wood or other things that are innocuous and doesn't have anything in it that would be sensitive for kashrus wise. But there are exceptions in all these cases, so it's worth paying attention to the details and descriptions given on the package to make sure that there isn't anything else added in that might be sensitive. Now, basically, everyone who keeps kosher knows that if you use something for hot meat, you can't use it for dairy, and vice versa. And that's because if you use it, let's say, for hot meat, then tam from the meat will be absorbed into the equipment that you use it with, or utensils, and it would get back into the dairy eventually. So that would mean is if you grill hamburgers on your barbecue, then you can't use the same barbecue for corn that's smeared with butter, because that would be milchiks and fleishiks together. Okay, now that's for milchiks and fleishiks. But that does not apply, that same halacha does not apply for meat and fish. So you could grill tuna steak today and hot dogs tomorrow using the same grates and utensils, etc. But that's only true for absorbed tam. Okay, but that does not apply if there's going to be residue of meat or fish on the utensils. So for example, if you broil fish and you want to then put meat onto it afterwards, you have to scrub the grill to make sure there's no pieces of fish left behind before you grill the meat. And the same thing backwards, when you go from meat back to fish, you'd have to scrub it well, because between meat and fish, we don't worry about tam that's being absorbed tam that's transferring back and forth, but pieces of residue of meat or fish that we can't have. So while talking about meat and fish, I'll note, and relating to grilling, that Worcestershire sauce, I hope I pronounced that right, is a kind of a sauce made with anchovies. Anchovies are a kind of fish. So at first glance, when you hear these say, we made a sauce with fish in it, then you can't use that sauce on meat, which of course that's its intended use, is to use it with meat. So in certain brands, they use so few or so little anchovies are mixed in that the anchovies are batal b'shishim, and according to many poskim, that means is you could use that sauce with meat. So the hashgachas who follow that position will mark their sauce as being paraf, because you can do whatever you want to it. It doesn't have to be any special attention because it's fish. And in contrast, they'll mark the sauce as fish when it has a lot of anchovies in it, an amount that would not be batal b'shishim. And then those sauces, the reason why they're marked fish is to tell you these cannot be used with meat.